It's 9 p.m. in Djibouti, time for English New Edition. We have for tonight headlines. The head of state receives the Secretary of State of America, Rex Tillerson. And in Syria, a humanitarian convoy is between in the Ghouta. Welcome in our newsroom. The President of the Republic has received the Secretary of State of United States. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Anglais, received today, Friday, in the middle of the morning, at the Presidential Palace, the American Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, for a working visit to Djibouti in the framework of a major tower that is performed from 5 countries of Africa, signed patent of the importance that the United States grant to the Republic of Djibouti. Our country intervened at the second step of these towers of Rex Tillerson. During their meeting, President Anglais and American Secretary of State have discussed together the relations of friendship and cooperation between the two countries and peoples, the privileged collaboration that the two nations maintain in economic development has also been addressed in the course of this hearing. It is to recall that Djibouti and the United States cooperate in several key sectors of development, particularly in the field of energy, where our country integrates the restricted circle of African nations benefiting from the American program Power, a partnership based on the exploitations and the financing of energies. They also cooperate in the area of another cooperation, while also strategic entitled first programs of and who has the value of financial support and transfer the expertise in the area of fight against unemployment and strengthening of professional skills. The discussion between the head of state of Djibouti and the American Secretary of State were then extended to the exceptional partnership, the tie between the two countries in the military and security. Djibouti and United States Office of Pairs to success in the area of collaboration in the fight against terrorism and violent extremism. It is indeed that our country is home to the unique American military base. Good governance constitutes some of the other subjects mentioned in the course of the meeting. After the meeting between the President Anglais and the Secretary of State of the United States, Rex Tillerson thanked the Djiboutian authority for the warm welcomes reserved his delegations and he has himself. Listen it, please.
First, let me begin by thanking Foreign Minister Youssef for his very warm welcome to Djibouti, and I appreciate his leadership, not just here but in the region as well. And we had a very fruitful discussion on how we can deepen United States and Djibouti relations. I also want to thank President Anglais for the opportunity to have an important dialogue with him as well. As I expressed to the Foreign Minister, the United States is committed to continuing this very strong partnership with Djibouti. Our relationship continues to provide benefits to both the people of the United States and certainly to the people of Djibouti, and both of us are working together to address a variety of challenges that this region is confronted with. One of our most important areas of cooperation and mutual interest, I think, is well understood, is security. And we're grateful to Djibouti for hosting thousands of United States troops here in Djibouti. This is a relationship that has been mutually beneficial to both the United States and Djibouti by strengthening Djibouti military forces as well. The U.S. military presence here does facilitate a very quick response to terrorism and violent extremism that threatens both of our countries, but as well it threatens the region and stability in this region. Wherever that threat may come from, whether it be ISIS finding its way to this continent or from Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, or other terrorist organizations, we are here in partnership with the people of Djibouti to protect the citizens of both our countries as well as countries in the region. And we greatly appreciate all that Djibouti is doing and the contribution of troops it makes to the African Union mission in Somalia through AMISOM. Djibouti plays a major role in safeguarding the free flow of global commerce through the Red Sea, allowing billions of people to access goods from all over the world by keeping the sea lanes free and open. During our meeting, we discussed the large role Djibouti plays in humanitarian support. It is a critical staging point for significant humanitarian aid that's distributed throughout the region. In particular, countries that are suffering food insecurity, Djibouti is a very important port for the delivery and distribution of food assistance to so many countries. And Djibouti also plays an extremely important role in its hosting of refugees that are escaping conflict in the region. We talked about our efforts to support reforms that will create long-term prosperity for Djibouti and will make Djibouti even more competitive for investments and trade. And part of our commitment in working with the government of Djibouti is to continue long-term progress towards good governance, strengthening the governance and the institutional governance capacity here in Djibouti. We're committed to support civil society development and institution building in several ways, and we had a very good exchange on that. So again, thank you, Excellency, for the warm welcome. We look forward to continuing this very important relationship with Djibouti. And again, I appreciated the opportunity for both of our meetings today. They were very useful to me. Thank you.
On his side, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Djibouti, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, highlighted the different points raised during the meeting between the President and Rex Tillerson. He said we had a very fruitful discussions on how we can deepen the relations between Djibouti and America, and to do this, the United States is committed to continue this very strong partnership with Djibouti. We must work together to face the challenges to which this region is facing, but the most important is to strengthen cooperation, mutual interest, and security. We are grateful also because Djibouti home on its soils the U.S. military base, the most important in Africa. Our relations is beneficial for our two countries. The American military presence has allowed to fight terrorism and allow you to restore stability in the region. Also greet the contributions of Djibouti for the maintenance of peace in Somalia within the AMISOM. Djibouti plays a very important role in the regions. It is in a joint press conference held at the Presidency of the Republic. Two outcomes of the discussions between the head of state of Djibouti and Mr. Rex Tillerson, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, who has held this joint press conference with the American Secretary of State. Listen, please.
My questions are for the State Secretary Rex Tillerson. And Mr. Secretary, as part of your working visit to Djibouti, how do you look forward in order to expand and strengthen partnership in trade and investment between the United States of America and Djibouti? And my second question is related to the security issue. Let's bear in mind that Djibouti is the biggest African countries for the peacekeeping mission in Somalia, and one of the key allies in the fight against Al-Shabaab in that country. How the United States and other countries from the sub-region can work together in order to better fight or enhance security in the regions?
Well, we had a very good discussion, a lengthy discussion about the investment climate in Djibouti and what U.S. investors are looking for in terms of stability and certainty in the investment climate. And we do see that there are investment opportunities in Djibouti, and I think part of this is ensuring that U.S. businesses understand what those opportunities are. But we had a very good exchange on strengthening the business climate for investment. Transparency is very important to private sector investment, and we had a good discussion around that. In terms of the joint effort to fight terrorism and Al-Shabaab in Somalia, this is obviously Djibouti has an important role because of the number of troop contributions that they make to AMISOM. We coordinate with AMISOM and with the African Union our own efforts in the fight against Al-Shabaab in Somalia. we shared our views on how that's going. We feel that there's been very good progress made in liberating areas of Somalia. It's important, though, that those areas then are secured so they remain liberated and they don't fall under control of al-Shabaab. But we have a lot of work to do in Somalia yet. And I had very good discussions in my meetings in Addis Ababa with the African Union chairperson about that mission. And rest assured, the U.S. is committed to staying engaged with AMISOM forces until we defeat al-Shabaab and Somalia is stable and secure and able to find its own way forward to prosperity. The United States is continuing to provide significant assistance to the Horn of Africa. I think this year we will be providing something like over $530 million to countries in the Horn of Africa in the form of assistance. But business investment and creating business prosperity and economic activity is largely something for the private sector from the United States to engage. I think what we can do in the State Department and as the U.S. government is to work with countries to ensure that they understand the kinds of business and climate that needs to be created, the kind of fiscal terms, the regulatory kinds of structures, transparency, all of the elements that we know U.S. investors are looking to understand in order to make decisions about investments. There is significant U.S. investment on the continent broadly, but in the Horn of Africa, it's not as large as we think it could be. And so we're going to continue to work with governments, not just here in Djibouti, but throughout the Horn of Africa, to ensure that U.S. businesses understand what the opportunities are, what the challenges are, and help the host governments understand actions we think they can take to improve the attractiveness of their countries to inbound investment.
Sur la question du DCT, notre pays a décidé de mettre fin à l'accord qui liait donc Djibouti.
The Djiboutian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mohamed Ali Yusuf, has explained the difference between the government of Djibouti and the DP World problems. The Djibouti don't let the monitoring of the Djibouti container terminals and say this is unacceptable.
Développer ses activités portuaires, mais DP World était devenu un obstacle au développement de ces activités. Et nous avons donc, conformément à la loi du 8 novembre que nous avons passée à l'Assemblée nationale djiboutienne, décidé donc de mettre fin à ce contrat. Mais toujours est-il que les intérêts de cette société sont préservés. Ces actions sont là. Djibouti ne les a pas prises ou intégrées dans son capital. Et si la société souhaite les vendre, se débarrasser donc de ces actions, elle aura le libre choix de le faire. Et si DCT souhaite rester comme partenaire, elle peut le rester, mais elle n'aura pas les conditions de la concession initiale. Ce sera un partenaire minoritaire avec 33% des parts dans le capital. Et donc, la direction du port est déjà, n'est-ce pas, transférée. Le conseil d'administration également reviendra à Djibouti et toutes les activités qui vont connexes qui vont avec. J'informe aussi donc les médias ici que en quelques jours, les activités du DCT ont augmenté de plusieurs pourcents, de 40%. Vous imaginez, de nouvelles compagnies sont en train de s'installer. L'extension du DCT va être réalisée. Et je crois que les perspectives pour les activités portuaires seront encore meilleures. Mais nous gardons les bonnes relations avec les Émirats arabes unis et nous souhaitons que cette séparation entre Djibouti et DP World.
The department delegate to tourism has organized yesterday the closure of national meetings on tourism which took place 3 days at the People's Palace. It is under the patronage of the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed. The foundations of tourism had opened its door on 5 March last in the presence of the several members of the government and the actors of this sector. The closing ceremony which was held at the People's Palace has also included several members of government, on which is the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Trade and Commerce, the representative of the private sector and the actors in this file of tourism. This event, as the being said, has several assumptions aimed to draw the roadmap for the tourism sector and commits its actors in a common vision of the necessary reform to be undertaken in the sector. The National Foundation of Tourism have, of course, been an opportunity to question the sector, but also to define the strategy adopted in order to keep the perennial sector. Djibouti originated in effect to achieve its growth objective favors of the sector of tourism in the next few years, and the workshop it was for many things. The government and civil society must work together to define the future pillars of development. In a speech by one of the players, proponents and lovers of the Djiboutian culture, he recalled the various ways to promote its beautiful cultures. The foundations of the tourism have closed in the presence of the two ministers, and in his speech the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawali, has stressed the need of to consider good prospects for the futures and mobilizes the actors which catalyzes these sectors. The Minister of Interior, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Omar Mohammed, has carried out from 6 and 8 March 2018 a visit from the work in Algeria for participating in the 35 sessions of the Council of Ministers of the Interior of Arab. The Minister has indicated in interventions within the work of the conference, as well as in the various hearings of the bilateral meetings with the counterpart and the representative of the international organization. The role very important of the policy of His Excellency the Head of State of Djibouti, Ismail Magele, for the fight against terrorism and extremism, as well as to ensure the stability in our regions by an exceptional balance between national security and the humanitarian role of Djibouti to accommodate the refugee from neighboring country. The conference has adopted several resolutions concerning the security situation between the state, as well as cooperation and coordination in the area of security. The Minister of Djibouti has met in the emergence of the conference in hearing the Minister of Interiors of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Royal Highness the Prince Abdulaziz bin Saud Naif, where he was discussed within him the bilateral cooperation between the two fraternal countries in the contents of the security. The Minister of Djibouti has congratulated his Saudi counterpart for his designation as honorary President of the Council of the Ministers of Interior of Arab country. On his part, the Prince has congratulated the Minister of Djibouti for the role which to the policy of the Republic of Djibouti in the region. The Minister of Interior of the Algeria, the President of the Arab University of Naif for Session is safe, the Director of Centers of the United Nations to combat terrorism, the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Diayeddin Said Bamakrama, has accompanied the Minister during these missions. The Office of Djibouti for Development of the Geothermal Energy, ODEG, has approved yesterday a lot of a batch of materials intended for the different size of the geothermal of our country. This batch of material estimate of 2 billion of our franc has been approved by the Minister of Energy responsible for natural resources, Mr. Younis Ali Gedi, and the Director of the Director General of ODEG, Dr. Qayad, and his close collaborator. The latter welcomed the arrival of these materials for the strengthening of the size of geothermal energy in the Republic of Djibouti. For his part, the Minister of Energy, Younis Ali Gedi, has indicated that is in the that's the first batch of material who came to the Geothermal Office of Energy. The second batch of materials will be there in the next week. We are very ambitious to receive this batch of material, important to strengthen the energy department of geothermal energy. The management of the public debt of the Ministry of Budget has hosted this Thursday, 8 March, a training workshop on the formulation of a strategy, the management of the debt in the medium firms organized by the directors of the public debt, with the assistance of the World Bank, who is staying in the capital from 4 to 15 March 2008 in the framework of the missions of technical assistance for the strengthening of the capacity of the management of the public debt of Djibouti. This mission is led by Mrs. Julie Sati, economist countries of the World Bank, including Mr. Henry Balek, a specialist research debt to the World Bank, Mr. Andatu Indiom, economist seniors to the World Bank, as well as
how the government will manage the portfolio composition of debt. So we are here with our colleagues from the World Bank and the United Nations to arrange a workshop on general issues of debt management, particularly focusing on the debt management strategy. So debt management strategy is about how the country structures its portfolio and how the country manages the cash flows of debt going forward. So we are very glad to see that all the relevant institutions are represented here. So we have colleagues from the Ministry of Budget, Ministry of Finance, Central Bank and other institutions. So we are going to run the workshop for about 4 days. We are looking forward to an interactive discussion, and we hope this will be a starting point for the authorities to have a forward-looking debt management strategy in place.
Now, concerning the international scene, a humanitarian convoy in Trade Fridays in the rebels enclave of the Gura, Eastern Europe, near Damascus, to distribute aid to the belligerent inhabitants to the favors of the pause in the bombing. 13 truck carrying the aid are inside of the fifth rebel, declared by to AFP Siki, spokespersons of the International Committee of the Red Cross in Damascus. Our team will deliver the aid, which has most been distributed on 5 March because of the bombing. Thursday, another delivery of aid has failed, the convoy must not having been able to enter in the rebel enclave target since the 18th February of an offensive the regime having done, according to the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights, including 800 children's delivery had been authorized by the regime for security reasons, according to the United Nations. The planned deliveries this Friday to not include medical equipment, but the spokespersons of the ICRC has made a state of positive indications as to the possibility that a convoy more important, including medical equipment, can deliver next week for aid toys rebels strengthens in the door of Damascus. And we have the American President Donald Trump has agreed on Thursday evening with the leaders of the North Korea by the end of the way. Pyongyang is also committed to stop nuclear testings or missiles and to work toward the denuclearization of the peninsula. It is a meeting considered to as unlikely that has been announced Thursday, 8 March, at the White House. Invited by Kim Jong-un, Donald Trump agreed to meet the leaders of the North Korea by the end of the month of May next year to talk about the program, nuclears and ballistic in Pyongyang. The invitation is made by the intermediary of the Chunhyang National Counselors of the South Korea to the security visit to Washington after met the Kim Jong-un Pyongyang this Monday. A meeting, she said, history. I think that is the report more positive that we have received, or not only the willingness of Kim Jong-un came, but a real disease to discuss state to oppress the head of the American diplomacy, Rex Tillerson, Friday, March, after having met in Washington with the diplomats, South Korean interim accountant for their discussions with their counterpart in the North Korea. What has changed its positions and in the manners quite particularly and quite friendly. It was a bit of a surprise to us that is also opens in the discussions with the delegation of South Korea side, added the chief of the American diplomacy. This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.